Please like video and subscribe my YouTube channel. Thank you. Backhand index pointing right. God is speaking. Jesus Christ motivational message, complete. God is speaking doesn't mean a loud voice from the sky, it means guidance that comes quietly, through your thoughts, your conscience, and your life situations. The teachings of Jesus Christ remind us that this guidance is always present. Backhand index pointing right. You just have to notice it. You may feel a strong inner thought. You may sense something isn't right. You may feel pushed toward a better decision. That feeling. Backhand index pointing right. That is the message. My dear friends, many people ignore this voice. They stay distracted. They rush decisions. Backhand index pointing right and they miss direction. But God is speaking at a deeper level means awareness. You slow down. You observe your thoughts. You pay attention to your actions and situations. Backhand index pointing right. You become conscious. And this is powerful. Because now, backhand index pointing right, you start making better choices. You avoid mistakes you used to repeat. You choose what is right over what is easy. Backhand index pointing right. You grow. God is speaking also means responding. You don't just feel what is right. Backhand index pointing right. You act on it. Even small actions. Backhand index pointing right. They change your direction. And over time. Backhand index pointing right. Your life improves. At the same time, the message of Jesus Christ reminds you that guidance can come through anything. Backhand index pointing right. Your thoughts. Backhand index pointing right. Your experiences. Backhand index pointing right. Your quiet moments. So don't ignore it. Don't rush through life. Stay aware and listen. Because when you truly understand God is speaking, you don't feel lost or confused. You move forward with clarity, awareness, and purpose, making better decisions, avoiding wrong paths, and building a life that is more focused, peaceful, and meaningful every single day. Backhand index pointing right. God is speaking. Jesus Christ motivational message, Part 5. As you go deeper, you begin to realize something even more powerful. God is speaking is not only about guidance, it is also about trust in what you are being shown. The teachings of Jesus Christ remind us that understanding direction is one thing. Backhand index pointing right, but trusting it is the real step forward. You may feel what is right. You may sense the direction clearly. But now, backhand index pointing right, you must trust it. My dear friends, many people doubt their direction. They overthink. They hesitate. Backhand index pointing right and they don't move. God is speaking at this stage means confidence in guidance. You don't second-guess every decision. You don't let fear stop you. Backhand index pointing right, you move forward with trust. And this is powerful. Because now, backhand index pointing right, you stop being stuck. You don't remain in confusion. You don't delay important steps. Backhand index pointing right, you take action with belief. Even when the path is not fully clear. Backhand index pointing right, you still move forward. At the same time, the message of Jesus Christ reminds you that trust creates progress. Backhand index pointing right, when you trust the direction, your journey becomes smoother. So don't doubt everything. Don't let fear hold you back. Trust what you feel is right. Because when you truly live, God is speaking. You don't hesitate or stay stuck. You move forward with trust, confidence, and clarity, following the guidance you receive and building a life that grows step by step in the right direction. Backhand index pointing right, God is speaking, Jesus Christ motivational message, Part 6, Final. As you reach the final stage, you discover something truly powerful. God is speaking becomes a way of living, not just a moment of understanding. The teachings of Jesus Christ remind us that guidance is not something you listen to once. Backhand index pointing right, it is something you follow daily. You may still face decisions. You may still encounter challenges. But now, backhand index pointing right, you stay connected to awareness. My dear friends, this is where transformation becomes permanent. You don't go back to careless decisions. You don't ignore what you feel is right. Backhand index pointing right, you stay mindful. God is speaking at this stage means consistency. You listen regularly. You reflect daily. You act with intention. Backhand index pointing right, you live with purpose. And this is powerful. Because now, backhand index pointing right, your life becomes aligned. Your thoughts are clearer. Your actions are more focused. Your direction is stronger. Backhand index pointing right, you feel stable. Even when life changes. Backhand index pointing right, you stay grounded. At the same time, the message of Jesus Christ reminds you that a guided life brings peace and clarity. Backhand index pointing right, when you live with awareness, you avoid confusion and move with confidence. So stay aware. Stay consistent. Stay connected to your inner direction. Because when you truly live, God is speaking. You don't just hear guidance sometimes. You live with clarity, purpose, and steady direction every single day, building a life that is calm, focused, and aligned with growth and meaning. Backhand index pointing right, God is speaking, Jesus Christ Motivational Message, Part 7, Living the Message Daily. Now you go even deeper, and here's the truth most people miss. God is speaking is not just something you understand, it's something you apply in your everyday life. The teachings of Jesus Christ remind us that real change happens when guidance becomes action in small daily choices. You wake up. You make decisions. You react to situations. And now, backhand index pointing right, you become more aware in every moment. My dear friends, this is where your life truly starts changing. Not in big dramatic moments, but in small, consistent choices. Backhand index pointing right, what you choose to think. Backhand index pointing right, what you choose to say. Backhand index pointing right, what you choose to do. God is speaking at this stage means daily discipline. You pause before reacting. You think before deciding. You choose what is right, not just what is easy. Backhand index pointing right, you live intentionally. And this is powerful. Because now, backhand index pointing right, your life improves step by step. You avoid unnecessary mistakes. You stay focused on your path. Backhand index pointing right, you grow every day. Even when no one notices. Backhand index pointing right, you keep improving quietly. At the same time, the message of Jesus Christ reminds you that small right choices lead to big results. Backhand index pointing right, consistency creates transformation. So don't wait for big signs. Don't depend on motivation. Focus on your daily actions. Because when you truly live, God is speaking. You don't just understand guidance. You practice it every day, building a life of discipline, clarity, and purpose, where every small step moves you closer to a stronger, better, and more meaningful life.